Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for joining. We are here today for a very exciting discussion to give a report
Recording in progress.
on the experience of the first ever Alexandra Kollontai Brigade to Venezuela. This was an experience that happened this summer in July, and we gathered a group of 28 women from 20 different countries around the world who are leaders in political and social struggles across the different continents, and who are all participating in the International Assembly of Peoples, the IAP, the IPA, and all came together to visit revolutionary Venezuela and to learn with our own eyes and ears and to participate in the processes of popular feminism on the ground. This was done in conjunction with the Simon Bolivar Institute, and I would like to pass it to Laura Franco to give us a little bit of an introduction on the work of the Institute and of the Brigade.
Saludos, queridas hermanas.
Greetings, dear sisters and comrades, dear brothers and comrades as well, who have joined us. Greetings from revolutionary Venezuela.
Bueno, ha sido un verdadero orgullo recibir.
It's been a true honor to receive leaders from the whole world who visited revolutionary Venezuela. This was an event who was very important for us, for the Venezuelan people, because the presence itself of the International Women Brigade, Alexandra Kollontai, in Venezuela has been a concrete, tangible action of struggle against the illegal blockade of the United States against our people, specifically when we consider the particular effects this blockade has on the lives of women. From the Simon Bolivar Institute, an institute of solidarity for the peoples, an institution that was created during the Bolivarian Revolution, and with the support of Carlos Ron, the president of this revolutionary institution, and with the support of the different officials, we were able to organize this event together with the International People's Assembly. And we want to thank the people from the International People's Assembly for all of their effort, particularly to our sisters Pilar Troya and Layan Fulihan, who were working very much during this coordination. All of us in Venezuela understand that feminist struggle is a revolutionary struggle and it's an internationalist struggle. That's why it's so important to build networks and spaces of articulation such as this one, because we know that feminism, or the different feminisms, are involved in a dispute, in a conflict, and we talk about popular international feminism. We talk about systematizing experiences and creating theory on the basis of what is happening, what's taking place here in Venezuela, in the Venezuela of the Bolivarian Revolution. That is why we were very proud to be able to organize an agenda of work that was very ambitious in terms of trying to analyze what is this internationalist popular feminism in Venezuela, how it is expressed through different women who are in charge of the implementation of public policies to support women in Venezuela, as well as the popular expressions from the movements, the feminist movements in our countries. Some speaker people from the movements were able to share a few words with the brigade and specifically to hear from the struggles in all of the continents, something that enriches the internationalist popular feminism of Venezuela, particularly the internationalist aspect, which was the focus for the organization of this first brigade. So from Venezuela, we want to once again share all of our love, all of our sorority for our sisters worldwide, and specifically for this strong and important articulation, coordination that is the International People's Assembly. We hope it may continue down this line, doing this work of providing theory to the praxis of our internationalist popular feminism and continue working down the socialist path that we all hope to continue building. So thank you, everyone. And now we give the floor to our sisters who will share their thoughts on this experience.
Thank you very much, Laura. And we would like to move now to hear directly from representatives from each region. This was an incredible experience, not only to learn from Venezuela, but also to deepen our understanding of the anti-patriarchal struggle in different contexts around the world, all united in this vision of the struggle against patriarchy, coming up directly against the struggle, the imperialist powers across the world. So we are going to move to hear from one representative from each region, and we will start. Let me make sure that our comrade Teresa is connected and everything is going well. Teresa, are you here with us?
Yes, comrade, I'm here with you.
Wonderful. I'm very excited to introduce Teresa Boateng from Ghana. Teresa is a member of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, and she is also a participant and leader in the school, the Amilcar Cabral Political Education School, and has also participated in the political education programs of the Nkrumah School in South Africa. Teresa, welcome, and we're excited to hear from you.
Thank you very much, comrades, for organizing around international feminism again and representing the sub-Saharan Africa. It's a great opportunity, and we are most grateful for the opportunity to share in the struggles of Venezuela. Being in Venezuela for 10 days, it was a very remarkable time for us, and we are most grateful, first of all. We shared in the experiences of the people of Venezuela through the communes, through the state, all the people that we mingled with. It was a very effective time to learn from the people of Venezuela, their resistance towards imperialist oppression. We realized the sanctions upon them and how much they have gathered to fight back, to resist. That was one striking thing for us from the people of the sub-Saharan Africa. It was a very remarkable time, as I said, because we got right into the communes and saw how organization was done right from the grassroots, and how women took positions in almost all the states. We visited the Lara state. We saw the remarkable works of women. We saw women in their works in the field of education, how they organize around education, how they promote their culture through education, and then also what to teach the children was a very important aspect that we felt as the people of Africa we can learn from. We also saw how they organized their production, which was done also with women in charge of most of all these activities. We saw at the El Mezal how they organize their corn, how they process, and how they supply fuel or gas to the communes. So these were some of the avenues or the networks which helped us as the people of Africa coming back thinking of what to do. We say that we really applaud the strength of the people of Venezuela to resist all the oppressions, all the sanctions that had been put on them. We really applaud them for that. And also going forward to socialism, as was popularly said in Venezuela, the revolution has the face of a woman. Despite the passing on of Chavez, it didn't let the people down, but they were able to hold on to the ideals of Chavez. Until today, they fight. This is also one remarkable thing that we've learned, and also the internationalism aspect of Venezuela, how they are able to commune with other people and share in the ideas of others. So looking at how their oil refineries were being hijacked by imperialist countries with sanctions and all that, we've seen that with their unity or solidarity with Iran, they are now able to make headways. So it tells us that there is strength in solidarity. And then as people who are fighting imperialism, we must put together our efforts. When we do that, we will be able to withstand all the darts that they throw at us, all the bombs in the forms of sanctions and all the other forms they use to oppress us. So that was one thing that we also took back home. And then also regarding the peasants' universities, these are some of the things in Africa, it's not common. And we felt it's a very important thing that we can implement in our societies to give opportunity for the people, the peasants, to also share in science and in technology. Because in Venezuela, we realized that the science was the science of the indigenous people and not the science that is being taught in Europe or in US, but the science is the very science that is practiced on the land of Venezuela. And therefore, the people within the production sector have a very key role to play in there. And secondly, we also realize how much they push for women to lead. Gender equality was something very remarkable with our stay in Venezuela. We realize our struggles are all across the same line, and therefore it is very important to apply some of these strategies that we learned from Venezuela. They pay very key attention to organization from the grassroots. So within every commune, you can see the pattern of organization that is being done, the level of ideological consciousness that these people had, that they are able to organize themselves and make provision for the communes, the basic necessities of life, the material conditions of life. They make sure to provide. In the state of Anzuatigi, we also realize how houses are being put up for the very people in the community. Their efforts to eradicate poverty and to make sure that the material conditions of the people are better was also a very remarkable thing, I must say. So in all this, to sum up with everything, we got to know that the strength lies with the people. The ideological consciousness of people have to be awakened. And even walking on the streets of Venezuela, we realized that they had their history everywhere. And this history never departed from them, despite the passing on of Chavez. So we as the African continent or the African region, we felt or we know that upholding our culture, knowing what happened in the past, will be able to help us forge ahead with the socialism that we want to achieve. socialism in Venezuela gave room for women to represent themselves in all the affairs of the country. We never went to any stage where we didn't see women taking the front, pushing feminism, pushing socialism ahead. We've taken it upon ourselves as the African continent, as women, to arise and to fight, to liberate other women under oppression in the African continent. Women suffering gender violence, women suffering abuse is something that is on rampant in Africa. And as representatives of the continent, it is expedient that we practice what we've seen. So it was not just in theory, but we realized that all that is being said is done in Venezuela. Despite all the propaganda that has gone ahead on the media about them, it gave us the opportunity to also come back and spread the real truth about Venezuela. We must say that we were also impressed about the relationships they built with Argentina, with Brazil, where they have people aiding them in the agricultural sector, and how much they have value for their own products, because you realize most of the things that they eat in the country are being made or produced by themselves. The restriction of GMOs into the country was a lesson for us to also take back home, because we realize in our country that lately there are a lot of GMOs within the continent, which has its own health implications on us. And not to be oblivious of this, we got to know that fighting the oppressors will come with all sorts of say harassments. But we've seen Venezuela able to withstand the oppressors. Therefore, it gives us the hope and the assurance that we can also do it. It gives us the hope that we should push for socialism, because in there we see feminism. In there we see everyone in the society being liberated. To end with my conversation, I can add this lastly, that coming back, we have organized ourselves, that is from the various regions that were present. We've had several meetings and put dates in place where we will be able to share the struggles of the people of Venezuela, where we'll be able to have this points of unity, solidarity with the people of Venezuela. We believe we can build a society where the needs, the very material needs of the people are being met. And that is what we see Venezuela doing, right from the education sector, where we see school uniforms being provided for the students to be able to also go to school, where we see food being provided. And then also one thing about their agriculture sector we realized was how they are producing potato on very large quantities, and the lands are not being privatized. But these lands are being given out by the government, publicly owned. So people have access to these lands and are able to produce. This is one thing that we are also here in Africa to ensure, because from the various continents, we realize these lands are privatized and they don't give room for the people to harvest or to cultivate those lands. We feel it's very important we take from Venezuela some of these very important things that are building the society. We realize that the women are also being paid even for the domestic works that are being done in the homes. It didn't start on a silver platter because we had conversations with people like Maria Leon, Jesus Chacho, hearing of all the experiences they've gone through when they were being sanctioned by US imperialism. It took several efforts of women who had to fight to be able to make these things a reality, even with maternity leaves, where they now enjoy 2 years of maternity, where they have institutions like Dehumanizing Spirit, where women are able to get the necessary care they need mentally, physically, before they put to bed. And through that science, they are even able to give birth with ease and to healthy babies. We realize all the institutions put in place for this to happen. And therefore, we applaud their efforts. These are the very things that we need as people of Africa, to put our institutions in place, institutions which will be able to fight the system of capitalism, institutions which would foster socialism and make the society that better place and livable place that we all want to see. We were most excited at the launch of the Manual Science program, where the working class organized with a mystica to teach the people the history, how far they have come from the time they were being sanctioned till today, and the role that Manuel Science played in the Bolivarian Revolution. They thought it wise to make the works of women known to the people of the world, because in history we realize women are being oppressed or have been oppressed for a very long while. And then it was time for them to do something remarkable to show the works of women, that in the times of the revolution, in the times of the struggle, there were women who were putting in massive or much effort to make these things happen. So our being there in total, seeing how Manuel Science played key role to liberate the people of Venezuela, we learned a lot and we were really inspired as representatives of our various countries as a region. To end this, I would like to say we are in solidarity with the people of Venezuela. And I know with all the other countries, all the other regions that were present, we are in solidarity with the people of Venezuela. And we will not stop proclaiming all the efforts that the women are putting in place to make sure that the people within the country are also able to meet their basic needs. We are most grateful to all the countries, such as Cuba, which is supporting the works of Venezuela, because looking at the story of Cuba and the oppression they went through and the state they are in now, all these were a sort of encouragement for the people of Venezuela, which we are most grateful for as a country. So going forward, we are back into our countries to make sure whatever we learn there is being put to practice. It is not just theory, but it's in practice, because we've been there by ourselves to see all these things manifest. It's a state in which the governors and all the people, the heads of states, are working together with the people right on the ground. And that is what the people of Africa need. We need people in government positions who will represent the very least, let me put it, in the society. We need people in the spaces who will stand for the rights of women, to see that women are liberated in the communities, to see that women are given the necessary care that they have to receive. The gender equality we talk about is something we see in the land of Venezuela, and we push for that within our continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa. It was so amazing to hear from you. And also, the delegation from the African continent was the largest delegation on the brigade, with 7 people from across the region. And it was incredible to exchange with all of you in these many weeks. I also, before we move to the next,
Thank you.
Before we move to the next speaker, I just want to say a greeting to Canal Cultura Venezuela, who has connected and is streaming live this program as well. Thank you so much, and hello to everyone watching there. And now I'm very excited to introduce the next speaker coming from the Europe region, Roberta Tartaglia, who is a representative of Potere al Popolo in Italy, or Power to the People. She was an incredible representative during the brigade, and I'm very excited to hear her thoughts. Welcome, Roberta. Roberta, we can't hear you.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
So I think we have lost the connection with Roberta. Are you back? Maybe we can move to the next speaker while we fix the connection for Roberta, and we'll go back to Roberta. Okay. Great. So I would like to welcome from the Arab Maghreb region, Abir Abu Khader from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Welcome, Abir.
مساء الخير للجميع. تحية رفاقية إلى كل من ساهم في إقامة اللواء في فنزويلا القمة العالمية للشعوب ومعهد سيمون بوليفار، وتحية إلى كل الرفيقات اللي شاركونا في اللواء من أفريقيا، من أمريكا اللاتينية، من آسيا، من المنطقة العربية والمغربية، من أوروبا، من أمريكا الشمالية. تحية لرفيقاتنا اللواتي استقبلونا في البلد المحبة والمعطاءة فنزويلا. يسرني أن أشارككن اليوم تجربتنا القيمة في لواء فنزويلا، حيث كانت تجربة مميزة من عدة نواحي. أولاً التعرف على رفيقات جدد يحملنا نفس الفكر والرؤية والأهداف النسوية اليسارية التقدمية لمناهضة كل أشكال الظلم والعنف والقهر الواقع على النساء، سواء من الحكومات الفاشية أو من المجتمع الذكوري أو من
لحظة شوي عبير.
أوكي.
فينا الترجمة، ما في ترجمة.
أوكي استنى.
Hello, can you hear me?
تمام.
Can you hear me now?
من البداية.
Yes. Okay, عبير.
Ready, so we can go. Should I start from the beginning?
Greetings, comrades.
Greeting,
Greetings
comrades,
to all
to
those who helped
everyone
establishing
who have
this
contributed to
brigade
creating
in
this Brigade of
Venezuela and the
Venezuela,
International People's
including
Assembly and
the
the Simon Bolivar
Simon Bolivar
Institute. Greetings to
Institute.
all comrades
I'd
who
like to thank
participated in this
each one
brigade
of you
from
who took
Africa,
part
Latin
in the
America,
Brigade
Asia, the Arab Maghreb
from
region, Europe,
region
and North America. Greetings to our
Arab
comrades who received us
Maghreb region,
in
also from
this loving
Africa,
and
from
giving
Europe,
country of
from Latin
Venezuela.
America, and
I
thank
am
you
pleased to share
for
with you
welcoming us
today our
in the
valuable
warm
experience
country of
in the
Venezuela.
Venezuelan
We'd
brigade.
like
It
to
has been
share
a
with
special
you
experience in so many ways.
our experience, a very
First,
special
we met
experience
new
in
companions who
Venezuela.
are
We could meet new
like-minded and
friends,
have a vision and
friends
progressive
who have the
left-wing
same
feminist
dreams, the same
goals
goals
aimed
we
at
have
combating all forms of injustice, violence,
in
and oppression
fighting all
against women,
forms of
whether
oppression and
from fascist
injustice against
governments,
women,
patriarchal society,
violences that are
or
perpetrated by both
imperialism,
governments
colonialism,
and imperialist
which weakens and takes
colonialism,
advantage of
still
women.
exploiting women, as women
Women stand
are
in
in
front
the
lines in the struggle
forefront of
against
the
war,
fight against
siege,
war
invasion, occupation from all over the world, and gain their strength from different feminist organizations and leadership roles, such as Comrade, Revolutionary Comrade Alexandra Kollontai, the example we followed in the brigade. We gained our strength to create feminist revolutionary women to first guarantee sustainability of life and on the basis of equality, solidarity, freedom, and social justice. Second, when we approach feminism and its concepts from its sources, we find that it mainly emphasizes on equality between human beings, non-discrimination. It calls for putting an end to the discrimination so that people live on equal terms. Non-discrimination on the basis of skin color, gender, or race, so that people live on the basis of equality, where nobody controls nobody on the basis of their material status or on the basis of skin color, gender, or race, so that both sexes can reach resources and have equal opportunities while guaranteeing participation in decision-making on so different levels. This is what feminism calls for. That's why it's normal for both women and men who believe in human rights and combat violence against women and have a common vision to participate in creating a change, a societal change, and creating a better society. This brigade is the beginning of a project of solidarity, cooperation, and acquaintance between revolutionary women around the world. It is an ambitious project in which various progressive experiences across the nation collaborate in creating revolutionary feminist nucleus capable of bearing burdens and tasks of the feminist liberation and humanitarian struggle in countries. It will emphasize and enhance the leading role of women armed with awareness and high experience to play a prominent leadership role in national and international struggles. We may ask ourselves as revolutionary leftists how women can practice feminist work against racism resistance despite the injustice. The important question is, what have we learned from the experience of Venezuelan women? We have the opportunity to hear and learn about the situation of women in Venezuela on different levels through meetings with leader women. We talked about feminist women, feminist movements from the colonial stage to the Bolivarian revolution and how to advance and upgrade the status of women, equality and non-discrimination. Within the laws approved by the late President Hugo Chavez, giving Venezuelan women their full rights and working to combat all forms of violence against them. In addition to protecting pregnant women and children, we also had the opportunity to meet with the Minister for Women, who presented the situation of women and gave an opportunity to all participants in the brigade to hear from them and pay attention to their feminist issues. What caught my attention during this meeting was the modest and effective communication, which reflects an advanced revolutionary feminist model. Also, among the activities prepared by the brigade were tours to the states of Anzoátegui, Tigay, Arago, and Lara. When we went to the state of Anzoátegui, we met with female farmers working in fields, women who build their houses with their hands, women who work in fishing, cleaning and selling fish, women who work in centers for the protection of women and children. We also visited peasant communes and textile cooperatives run by struggling women from the population who also work actively and enthusiastically and participate in popular education. We were able to get to know each other and enhance cooperation amongst women working on the same cause in order to achieve social justice and equality. What we noticed was the amount of love we received from the working females in Venezuela who aim at building and strengthening their communities to combat the siege over Venezuela. I can say that what we saw in these women is that each one of them is a school that teaches perseverance and strength. During these tours, we were able to meet with Azwati governor and his deputy, and we heard about the late elections and the achievements. We had full support from the President Maduro and the governor, and we had participation, enormous participation of women in municipal elections. In some municipalities, we had women participation exceeding men participation. We also have visited different ministries, the Ministry of Technology. We had the minister also with us during our visits. We had discussions and the opportunity to participate with female leaders. and capitalize on their experiences and talk about the achievements of the leaders Hugo Chavez and Macodoro against imperialism, led by the USA and its allies. Women do play a major role in grassroots organization and guaranteeing neutralized societies. We are amazed by the achievements of women and their participation in the political areas and different fields. Despite the short time we had together, but during our stay in Venezuela, we witnessed the following. Despite all the siege procedures, the economic and financial siege imposed on Venezuela for more than 8 years to hinder the Bolivarian Revolution project, this project and its allies and the struggling leaders such as Simón Bolivar, Zamora, Hugo Chavez. It represents the solidarity with different nations such as Cuba, Nicaragua, and our Palestinian Arab population and its cause. All the people in Latin America and the world, we have a rich past, and it's continuing to lead to social change, to achieve and build the basis of the revolution currently to fight against outer imperialism as one of the main characteristics of the Bolivarian revolution led by Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. Despite all the sieges and penalties, the Bolivarian revolution in the late years was able to contain the siege and its effects and come out with solutions to the different financial problems, and we were able to develop the tourism and the Venezuelan economy and turn Venezuela into a productive society. We succeeded in that. In 2021, Venezuela was able to achieve high levels of achievements and growth. Statistics say that this growth will exceed 4% in 2022. It is important to note that the agricultural sector and the economic sector is also evolving during the siege imposed by the imperialistic United States of America. It is important to continue the struggle and the nationalist struggle with Venezuela and with the female Venezuelan population in order to expose the popular imperialistic and Viva Venezuela. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Abir, and all of our solidarity. All of our solidarity to the Palestinian people, especially after the horrendous attacks last week on Gaza and the many who were martyred and murdered by the Zionist Israeli regime. We're going to try again now to welcome Roberta to speak. Roberta, let's check your connection.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's a little bit choppy.
Is it fine now?
Maybe better without the video.
Okay. Let's try. Okay. Yep. So hi, everyone, and thank you for arranging this meeting. It's great to see you all connected again. And I want to thank the International People Assembly and the Simon Bolivar Institute for giving us the great opportunity to get to know Venezuela last June. It was a great experience for us. We met different kinds of feminism during our stay, both from the institutions and from the grassroots movements. And we saw how the women are active in the grassroots work and how they are referential leaders in their communities. And they are the ones that are supporting life. We have seen how the principles and the ideas of the socialist movement have managed to reach all areas of the country, both urban and rural, and this is very inspiring for us, and how they constructed a structure that allows actually the grassroots movement to have a voice. We were especially inspired by the concept of feminismo comunal. In the comunas, we had the opportunity to appreciate the process of gaining more economical independence by agriculture, animal farming, fishing, social housing, workers' powers to organize their labor force, and so on. And we were really impressed by the resistance of the Venezuelan people in front of the sanctions, that instead are seen as opportunities to develop and improve other kinds of economy and sovereignty. The process towards the construction of socialism we saw here is very impressive, and we were inspired and we wish to make it happen also in our countries, although we know that the path is very long. Through this brigade, we also had the opportunity to deepen our knowledge of struggles around the world. Even though we're all from different areas, we realize that as women, we're often faced with the same struggles, and therefore we believe that this experience should continue in time. And this network we built is precious and needs to be strengthened and enlarged. We understand that patriarchy is a system of power itself beyond other systems, and it is crucial to internationalize our fights. And I'm going to be very brief also because I don't know about my connection, but I just want to say that as a small and young movement like Potere al Popolo, it was great. It was a great honor for us to be hosted in Venezuela and meet all the women leaders from Venezuela and from around the world. And I wish to send you all our solidarity and keep on fighting.
Muchísimas gracias, querida Roberta. Un abrazo para ti desde
Thank
Venezuela.
you very much, dear Roberta. Greetings to you from Venezuela. Now we are going to invite Saman Al-Saleh from the Youth Palestine Movement, who lives in the United States. I would like to greet also our sisters and comrades from Madres del Mundo por la Paz en el Pueblo, Mujeres por la Vida, Esencia Feminista, Sindicato de la Asamblea Nacional, and other leaders that are connected to us through Simon Bolivar Institute's channel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Laura. It's great to be here. And thank you to the Simon Bolivar Institute and the International People's Assembly for making this brigade possible. So as Laura mentioned, I was the representative, or I was a delegate on behalf of the Palestinian Youth Movement. And the rest of the North American delegation consisted of 5 other women who were representing other parties and organizations in the US. So for this talk, I'm just going to emphasize 5 main lessons or takeaways that myself and the others in our delegation came out of this experience with. So lesson 1 was that US sanctions are deadly to Venezuela, and they must be comprehensively opposed, especially by those in the United States. So we met with William Castillo, who is the Vice Minister of Anti-Blockade Policies of the Ministry of Finance, and also he's the President of the National Observatory of Unilateral Coercive Measures. When we met with him, he clearly laid out the role and impact of sanctions for us. He said that sanctions are like invisible bombs, and that it is the people and the economy which feels the effects of these invisible bombs. And so throughout the trip, we saw how sanctions concretely operate as a form of war against Venezuela. We saw that the sanctions impact women on all levels, even at the level of one's physical body, as we learned in relation to the sanctions impacts on women's reproductive health and the fact that cancer in women catapulted because Venezuela couldn't access the medical exams needed to do screenings. So coming out of this experience, I want to highlight that sanctions are also an enemy to women and to popular feminism, and should also be considered a central enemy target for the feminist movement in the United States and globally. Lesson 2 is that the struggle against patriarchy is part and parcel to 1, class struggle, 2, to the construction of socialism and the transition from capitalism to socialism, and 3, the struggle against patriarchy is central to the fight against imperialism in Venezuela. The feminism we saw in action in Venezuela is a feminism of class. On the first day of the Brigade, we met with different women intellectuals and activists, such as Maria Leon, who highlighted how colonialism and neocolonialism in Latin America historically imposed patriarchy. The intellectuals we met with made it clear that the current process of constructing socialism against these historical processes that enabled Venezuela's domination must be feminist. But by feminist, the women we met with constantly distinguished their feminism from bourgeois feminism, since their feminism is practiced and struggled for within the framework of socialism. When we met with women leaders in the Maicel commune, they told us that their goal isn't to simply encourage women's participation, but to develop economic processes for women to empower themselves. And when we met with women leaders in one of the municipalities in the state of Aragua, which itself is governed by a woman, Karina Carpillo, and the mayor of the municipality, her name is Joana Sanchez. The women we met with there spoke about how it's not enough to say feminism or to engage in social activism even, but that working class women need to take power and need to take state power, and that the seizure of power is central to the advancement of feminist socialism. And so we saw how this was happening in Venezuela in the local structures of organizing production that go down even to the street level. Women leaders constantly articulated how popular feminism is a characteristic of the Bolivarian revolution. We learned, for example, that Chavez and Maduro are the only heads of state to declare themselves as feminist. And so popular feminism in Venezuela is with the Bolivarian revolution and views the revolution as a vehicle for constructing popular feminism. And another example of how the struggle against patriarchy is central to the construction of socialism was clear through learning about the approach, the feminist approach to reproductive work in Venezuela. We learned that the Venezuelan constitution itself recognizes how house activity is economic activity and that it produces value and that it contributes to GDP. Women we spoke with told us that part of the socialist feminist project is to defend and foster its provision in the law by socializing housework. Maria Leon told us that feminist socialism is the socialism of the 21st century, and that this is one of the main contributions that Chavez gave to socialism. And this was also reiterated constantly throughout the trip by women leaders from various unions and communes. And on this point, popular feminism in Venezuela is also anti-imperialist. When we met with women leaders from different communes and unions, such as the Union of the Electric Sector, they spoke about how women workers have been at the forefront of fighting US imperialism, as seen, for example, in the imperialist sabotage of the electric grid in 2019, where workers and women workers helped to recover the electric system. And a woman leader who was very powerful, who we spoke with from the oil and gas union, she emphasized that Venezuelan women are not only a productive element, and they're not housewives, not merely housewives, but that women defend the revolution with their consciousness. They defend the homeland, and they give birth also to revolutionary men. And I want to quote her directly. She said, to the imperialism of the United States, you will eat our dust. And she told us to tell the US empire that we women are at the forefront. Lesson 3 was about education and how revolutionary education is central to the construction of socialism. We saw this theme in many contexts, and one was in the Maicel commune, where women leaders spoke to us about the process of developing political education, which they described as transversal, and doing so with the participation of militants from the movement of landless workers in Brazil. And in the commune, I think Teresa spoke to this, we had the opportunity to visit school, which gives free education to children of the commune. And their teachers specialize in different areas. For example, they teach the children about their country's history of colonialism, their struggle against the Spanish Empire, and they also teach kids about the productive groups within the commune. And there we also met with different heads of production units who were all in the commune, who were all mostly in their early to mid 20s. So I just wanted to highlight the kind of aspect of youth throughout the trip, or like the participation of youth in the Bolivarian Revolution. And those youth that we met with were highlighting how the productive units within the commune they called it enterprises of sovereignty. And then we also learned about the importance of education when we met with the Minister of Science and Technology. She spoke about the importance of challenging Eurocentric models of education, and how Chavez himself began the process of bringing universities to each municipality. She spoke about how these universities are the universities of workers, artists, indigenous people, and peasants. So in workers' universities, the teaching happens in the factories. In the peasants' universities, the teaching happens in the field. And in indigenous universities, the teaching happens where they live. It was also interesting to learn about how Venezuela is preserving and keeping alive indigenous languages that were historically that the colonial process attempted to obliterate. And she also said that the government has to be ruled by the people, and that though it's very complex to struggle against the machine of imperialism, the education is critical and has to be one of our primary weapons to building peace. And lesson 4 was that solidarity with Venezuela is a necessity and has an important place in the movement for Palestinian liberation. It was really amazing to observe how much consciousness there is about Palestine and Venezuela on all levels. One of Chavez's most famous sayings about Palestine is that if this world had any conscience, the Israeli president would be dragged to a US court, and with him, the US president. He cut all relations, he cut relations with the Zionist regime, and he allowed Palestinians to enter Venezuela without a visa. And this legacy of solidarity, Venezuelan solidarity with Palestine, has been carried on by Maduro, who has insisted that we do not abandon Palestine. But I also saw this consciousness on Palestine and the Palestinian struggle and interactions I had with everyday people, and with workers who said things like, I'm also Palestinian, as a way to identify themselves with the anti-imperialist struggle in Palestine. And so after this experience, I've been reflecting on the movement for Palestine, particularly within the US, since that's where I'm located, and the importance that we begin engaging with the Venezuelan anti-imperial struggle, and that this is a key issue for building popular anti-imperialism and internationalism today. And then the last lesson that I wanted to just emphasize is that we need to take all efforts to challenge and dismantle US imperialist propaganda about Venezuela. And this is because the imperialist talking points and depictions of Venezuela, which are pervasive in the US and pervasive even within progressive circles in the US, function to, one, justify US war on Venezuela. It's a way to justify the US violation of sovereignty of Venezuela by, it's a way to justify US violation of sovereignty. And then secondly, it's a way to block working class people in the US from witnessing and understanding the revolutionary potential that is created and the successes that are won when working class takes state power. And in Venezuela, not just state power, but power on all levels. So from the state to the grassroots, and at the level of the communes as well. where women are, as we speak, constructing popular feminism. So through our participation and the opportunity to meet with so many leaders and organizers, it became more clear how US imperialism and its propaganda, US imperialist propaganda is actually material, and it materially works to reproduce and expand the US war on Venezuela. And this is because this propaganda is a way of manufacturing consent from Americans for the US aggression on Venezuela. William Castillo explained how the US strategy of regime change is not only about changing the Venezuelan government, but also about cutting and destroying the process that began in 1999. So ultimately, US strategy is about undoing the nationalization of Venezuela's resources and disempowering Venezuela's popular classes in order to institute a bourgeois democracy that would guarantee US hegemony in the region. But despite all the US efforts to vilify Venezuela, to destroy its productive processes, and to depict Venezuela as a threat to US security, despite all of these efforts, the US has not been able to achieve the political goal of regime change. And that was very clear through witnessing the commitment and dedication of Venezuela's popular classes for building socialism, and then within that process, building popular feminism. A feminism, as I've mentioned, that is socialist and anti-imperialist and always based on collective power rather than individual power. And so I want to end by saying also that we should conceive of the US propaganda also as an enemy to working class people in the US. So throughout the trip, it became evident that the working class in the US and the dispossessed in the US have a lot to learn from our comrades in Venezuela, who are building institutions and productive processes which are revolutionary, and that they are redistributing wealth, saying no to productive processes that are built on capitalist and imperialist exploitation, and rejecting the domination of Venezuela to global capital. I could list a lot of examples, but one that I wanted to highlight was a women's textile factory that we visited in the state of Aragua. This factory used to be under the thumb of transnational corporations that were heavily exploiting the labor of the women who worked there. But in, I believe it was 2006, the women waged a struggle against their bosses and owners and successfully expropriated the factory. And today this factory is completely worker owned and women run. And we had the amazing opportunity to meet with one of the leaders who led this struggle back in the earlier 2000s. And so I wanted to give this example because it's clear that the working class in the US would greatly benefit, and our movements in the US would greatly benefit from learning from Venezuela's process of socialist construction. And the US attempt to vilify Venezuela to those in the US is a way to impede revolutionary potential globally and to limit the imagination of the working class in the imperial core. And so US imperialist talking points and the sanctions they work to enable are working to also destroy the potential for the development of working class internationalism today. And so I wanted to just close with a quote from a great communist and feminist, Claudia Jones, who said that American women bear a heavy responsibility to the millions of our anti-fascist sisters in the world camp of peace, precisely because the threat to world peace stems from the imperialists of our land. So this brigade was a political inspiration and an honor to be a part of. And I hope that what we learned and witnessed can serve as a basis for developing anti-imperialist feminism within the US today, one which is capable of ultimately smashing the machine of US imperialism.
Muchísimas gracias, querida Samar. Vamos a invitar entonces.
Thank you very much, Samar. We are going to invite our sister Elpidia. Samar was talking for the North American region, and now from Alba Movimientos, the World March of Women, and the Latin American region. We are going to give the floor to Elpidia. Thank you very much. To our sisters and comrades, greetings in solidarity from Cuba. I would like to thank the solidarity received in Cuba from many organizations and networks who have followed the latest events in Cuba, who caused the loss of some of our comrades. Some people have been hurt in this event. Thank you for your solidarity. Cuba has been resisting to the measures taken by the United States government. We have been sanctioned. To Venezuela, we sent our wishes towards the strengthening of their anti-imperialism. In the Cuban delegations formed by 3 of our sisters, we were really glad to meet women from every continent, and we know that anywhere in the world, women are facing challenges in the fight for the future of humanity. I would like to refer to some important aspects of that struggle, and I would like to refer to aspects that were important during the Feminist Brigade. First, we had a very well-organized process in the organizing by the Simon Bolivar Institute, the World March of Women, and the IPA. The themes addressed in the different conferences and debates were very important because we got to know the history of that country and the history of women in Venezuela since the colonial times to today. A second aspect that was really important was the role of women in the building of a socialist society, valuing all that women do, both in theory and in practice. Anti-imperialism by Venezuelan women gives us strength to move forward, and moving forward as women in Venezuela are a very important part of the Bolivarian revolution. They have much clarity on how to move forward their processes. Some of the experiences that we got to know, we could see that in Venezuela, women know alternatives and they have a very important role in their communities. We were really interested in seeing that they are resisting building anti-imperialism. They have a common goal in giving continuity to Chavez's legacy, their optimism, their enthusiasm, not only women, but from all the people of Venezuela, were really important to see. Women are also running for elections in the Unified Socialist Party of Venezuela, and we see that as an important aspect. Women are also appropriating important technological processes and gaining social recognition of their role. We have to highlight also what women have contributed to the Bolivarian Revolution. They work for the people's well-being. Although the revolution Sorry, we seem to have lost connection. We want to say we have learned much from the work that women do in their communities, and we are bringing those experiences to Cuba and socializing them and trying to put them into practice in our own communities. We would like also to highlight what they call the jefas de calle, in which the cadres have the responsibility of dealing with sometimes with family problems. And there are leaders who are responsible for finding solutions to these problems. Since Venezuela, we are bringing this message to Cuba and about those experiments that have very positive results, because the main goal of our social work is the people itself. In the communes, we have seen examples of ways of organizing labor in which feminism is included and which put into practice experiences of popular education, development of alternative production in agroecology and agriculture. It was very interesting to know how women are leading many of these experiences of socialist economy initiatives. And we have seen there are many ways, concrete ways, tangible ways of building feminism, offering responses to the needs of women and of the population. And we have seen the strength of the unified Socialist Party of Venezuela. We have seen its unity and its strength, and we have seen popular feminism being built within the revolutionary Bolivarian process. We have seen the legacy of Bolivar and Chavez. And we have seen the solidarity and the unity of Venezuelan people towards the peoples of the world. And in Cuba, we have our own experience of how important it is to produce food to keep a country going. And we have seen many alternatives in Venezuela, and everyone in Venezuela has this feeling of being part of a common goal. And we assess very positively our experience. Also, we have seen in Venezuela how the children are part of the idea and the legacy of the revolution. We are very proud of having the opportunity of exchanging with women such as Maria Leon. We have visited the museums where the history is told, and that also brought us closer to Chavez's words and legacy. And we can talk of a very positive result of this brigade. We see that as Cuba has not been stopped, Venezuela will not be stopped, and that socialist feminism and the people who supports the revolution and is building every day that revolution based in gender equality. We believe we have strengthened the links between us, between organizations, between political parties, and between the members of the brigade of coming from all continents. Since the first day in the brigade, we have been able to overcome the obstacles of language and differences. We have found the political will of the president and of the government in Venezuela of building a strong country, and the commitment by each one of the members of the brigade towards that Bolivarian legacy was felt. Socialism in Venezuela today is building the future for the people. We have brought home learnings that we are trying to multiply in the ways of living and organizing, and all that will help us strengthening our own work in our country. If you consider the sanctions by imperialist governments against Iran, Cuba, Palestine, and Venezuela, I would also like to say that the anti-imperialist action by the Simon Bolivar Institute are very important in reinforcing the solidarity between the people of the world, and we would like to express our support, or sincere support. We hope that the next brigade, the next international brigade, can come to Cuba, so we can still raise high the banner of solidarity. We have been able to meet with women from the national, here in Cuba, we have a meeting among the women of the National Alliance of Women in Solidarity with Venezuela. And we have to thank the support of the Venezuela government. And we believe the brigade is a collective that will be able to keep the good work in building solidarity. We would like to thank each one of the women we have met with. We would like to thank the International People's Assembly. We would like to thank Lion with her intelligence and her skills. She has helped to organize. Thank you for her affection. Each one of the members of the brigade who were able to listen to our sisters. Thank you, Laura Franco and Laura Capote, particularly, who were responsible for each one of the tasks. To the interpreters and translators. And very especially, we'd like to thank Venezuela, who welcomed us. Venezuelan women, you are needed by the world. Come with us to build a socialist society, the one that was that Chavez and Fidel started to build. So much love towards that nation, towards that people, and towards that history. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elpidia, for your words and your contributions. It was also so incredible for us to witness and learn from the historical bonds of internationalism and solidarity between the Cuban and Venezuelan people, and to give us a vision for how to build internationalism going forward into the future. I'm excited to welcome now our last speaker, Daya Lakshmi Shrita from Nepal. Daya is a leader in many different political organizations and holds many positions, of which I can mention a few. She is the treasurer of the Peasants Association of Nepal, and she is also part of the district secretary of the Communist Party of Nepal, the Socialist and Unified Communist Party. And she also works in the Federation of forest management and community management in Nepal. Welcome, Daya. I think we may have lost Daya. We'll give it 1 minute. Okay, while we're figuring out how to reestablish the connection, we can move to our final speaker. I will pass it to Laura to introduce.
Muchísimas gracias, Layan. Bueno,
Thank you very much, Layan. Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to share a few acknowledgements and thanks, of course, to other comrades. Most of you have mentioned Maria Leon, who is a historical leader of the Bolivarian Revolution. She is currently a deputy, and she was with us from the very beginning of the event. I'd also like to thank Karina Carpio, the government of a state. Sorry, there are some sound issues. We've also like to thank Joanna, the mayor of Aragua. Also, special greetings to the Robinsonian School, who received the International Brigade all of the time that we were here in Caracas, Venezuela, to the Commune Union, the national space of coordination of the communes, and specifically also to the Commune El Maizal from State Lara. Also to our dear ministries, the Ministry of Women for Popular Power, of Urban Agriculture, and the Science and Technology Ministry. All of them are women who facilitated exchanges that enriched the work of the brigade. And now we'd like to welcome a co-organizer of the brigade, who, together with Layan for the International People's Assembly, and specifically from the team of the Operative Secretariat from the International People's Assembly, someone who was very much in charge of organizing this brigade, and she did so with a lot of efficiency. So our sister Pilar Troja would like to give you the floor and to hear from you about the experience. Welcome, sister. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a shame that we lost the connection with our comrade from Nepal. It seems that she won't be able to join us again. I'd like to close now just by saying, well, considering that she won't be able to share her comments, I'd like to thank you all and also to explain this brigade was possible thanks to the effort of popular organizations and women organizations that are promoting internationalist feminism from 20 countries. We had countries from sub-Saharan Africa, including Swahili, Kenya, Ghana, also Palestine, Morocco, and Maghreb. There were also countries from Europe and Asia, from the Americas, the United States, Brazil, Argentina, Cuba, and Chile. As peoples, we cannot free ourselves from patriarchy if we don't also free ourselves from racism, colonialism, and the sanctions. That was one of the main motives that called for this brigade to be there. This is an expression that combines all of these different forms of oppression that prevents people from being able to live freely and enjoy their rights. And we know they have a particular impact on women and sexual and gender diversities. We know that Venezuelan people, the Venezuelan women, have more difficulties to access health, to access education, to be able to ensure a wage. And still they are a strong agent in the Bolivarian Revolution. They have managed not only to resist, but also to make progress in terms of equality and rights. And this from the grassroots, from the bases, the communes themselves, but also up to the highest positions in ministries. And many of the comrades we've met and mentioned here are an example of this. Before we go into the final thanks and acknowledgement, Daya has joined us. Daya Laxmi is with us, so we may still have that last testimony. The only thing I wanted to share were a few words of thanks. We'll do that in the end. So good to have you back, Daya. Go ahead.
Hello, Daya. I hope you can hear me, comrade. We are very excited to welcome you. We have lost Daya again. Pilar, I will pass it back to you.
Entonces, en vista de que no podemos
All right.
contar con Daya,
Considering we won't be able to have Daya from Nepal, I'd like to just thank in the name of the Simón Bolivar Institute, the International People's Assembly, and all of the people who were involved in this process. You all know we have a permanent commitment with these struggles. We ask you to please visit our websites, to follow us in our social media accounts to get to know more about these topics. We hope to soon be able to share a publication on the experience of the brigades, something that we'll be able to share with everyone. Daya is back with us. Maybe we can hear from her.
Daya, please go ahead, comrade, if you have a good connection.
bueno.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
We can hear
Yes.
you.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daya Laxmi from Nepal. Sorry, there is a technical problem sometime. Thanks to all the comrades to International Popular Feminist Simón Bolivar Institute for the organizing this regional women brigades meeting immediately after the first International Feminist Brigade, Alexandra Kollontai, were a part of the Venezuela territory for the 10 days with the aim of the knowing be popular, communal, and revolutionary feminist is built from the base and in the structure of the political power. The meeting with the feminist community leaders, governors, and another of the regional legislative power allowed to evaluate the process of
Unfortunately, it seems that we are not able to resolve the technical issue. So we will find another way to share the contribution from our comrades from Nepal, and I'll pass the word back to Pilar.
Finalmente, yo apenas quería agradecer.
Just to finalize, I just wanted to thank everyone who, from Venezuela, helped organize this brigade, starting with the Institute, Simon Bolivar, but also to each and every one of the women's organization, popular organizations that were part of the efforts, as well as the public officials, the ministries, women who have been elected into positions of government, who also share their times with the women from the brigade. On the side of the assembly, I wanted to thank all of the colleagues who worked together in organizing this brigade. We had a delegate, one per region, even though Layan and myself were were in charge of directing these efforts. And thank you, Layan, for your work on the brigade. Thank you also for the panelists today, who were the members of the brigade with whom we will continue on working in efforts to support the Bolivarian Revolution in our commitment with Venezuela and all of the countries that are suffering under sanctions. And finally, I'd like to thank all of the interpreters present here and the technical staff that has allowed us to connect with one another, to exchange with one another the efforts done by the Bolivarian Revolution, despite the sanctions, despite of capitalism and the costs of internet and the difficulty of access. Despite all of this, difficulties that were evident today, we are here, all of us together. So have a good afternoon, and we shall conquer.